Recording in progress.
One of the classic Maamarim that the Rebbe would always say, the Dibra Maskal ציון bמשפט תפדה, as it's the last words in the Haftarah of Shabbos Chazon. B'siyat l'shmaya Shabbos Parshas Dvorim, Shabbos Chazon, Dal Menach Mov, Tavshin Lamed Tes. ציון bמשפט תפדה, ושבי הצדקה, ציון, which in the simple sense goes on Yerushalayim, soon we'll also bring an explanation it's going on the Yidden, will be redeemed with Mishpat, and her returnees or her captives, b'tzedakah, with tzedakah. Mishpat means the general Torah. Muval ze badrushim, divra maskal tzim b'mishpat tipadam, v'shavel b'tzedakah. That's brought down to Maamar by this title, and this title, the Rebbe says, there's Maamarim starting all the way back from the Alter Rebbe. The Kvek is Admar Zaken Rebbe saying, "Sienu Maamar Mapkaim made is in Maamarim by this title from the Alter Rebbe, and the Rabbim seem that took his place." Mashakaso, it's brought down those Maamarim b'hoyad var me'elash nechintav chayom. It will be these matters that I command you today. Razal and Chazal explain what does it mean when we say Asher anoichi metzav chayom. I am commanding you today. It's not today when I'm reading Kriya Shema. When I'm reading this parsha in the Torah, it's not when Hashem commanded us. So the Chazal derive from it that the fact that the Torah tells me that Hashem is commanding me today meaning every day that I'm reading this. So from this we derive B'chol yom yu b'nech chadoshim. Every day the Torah and the mitzvah should be to us as if it's new. That's our love, and we need to understand Eichav Shaliyas came. How is it possible that the Chazal say this is what we have to do, but how is it possible to have such type of feeling that every day the Torah is new? I did the Torah for the last 40, 50, 60 years of my life. I've learned Torah for the last 80 years of my life, 100 years of my life, and we want it to be considered like it's new. The explanation this is that the pasuk is not said in a vacuum. It's something that is part and parcel of what we said a previous bracha. A previous psukim that preceded it. So he says, this pasuk that these matters should be today comes in continuation to what it says prior to this. It says, first says Shema Yisrael Gomer, that we have to understand and listen and think about that Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and then afterwards V'havtas Hashem Elokecha Gomer, and through that meditation to come to love Hashem your God. Meaning, these are the means, these are the introductions to reach V'hoyu Advar Me'ela Shnech Mitzav Chayom. You want to have it today? It's through the process that it says beforehand. This means through the meditation that's in Shema Yisrael. As we know, the word Shema does not just mean listen and hear, but it means understand how Havaya Elokeinu Havaya Echad. As we know that different types of meditation, different types of Izbonus brings him to love Hashem. That's why we say Shema Yisrael and then V'ahavta, because to love Hashem, it comes only after thinking into what it says in the pasuk Shema Yisrael. So the result of that is, if you love Hashem, and it results from the meditation and the Eibishter, in the ideas through that, every day the mitzvahs and the Torah will be for you as if it is new, because it is something that is beloved by you. It's something that it's something that your beloved told you to do, so it's not like some type of old thing, yeah, we heard about it, we got to do it. It's something that you're doing it out of your love for Hashem. When you're doing something out of love, so it's always new to you, it's always fresh to you, it always has that desire and passion and excitement and so on. To such a degree, not only is it kechadoshim, like new, but v'ad sheyu chadoshim mamish, till they be actually new, beli chaf adimyan, without the letter chaf that tells you that it's only like new, without the letter chaf, but it's actually new. In other words, there's different ways how this Maamar Chazal is quoted. The Rebbe in the footnote shows different Rashis where it actually says B'chol Yom Yu Beinecha, not Kichadoshim, as the regular Maamar Chazal is brought down the Gemara, but rather it is Chadoshim, that it should be actually new. It's like the different things that we find different girsais in the Gemara when it says it's like, or it's even leaves out the Kichadoshim. So that's how powerful the hisbonus of Shema Yisrael is, and V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha is, that it could bring a person to a state where they will look at Torah and mitzvahs not just like it's new, but it will be actually new for them. The second paragraph on the page, and these matters will be that I command you today. From them we derive this obligation that every day the mitzvahs have to be considered new. Maamar, it says afterwards, you should teach it to your children, you shall speak in them, you shall bind them upon your arms, the mitzvah of tefillin, you shall write them on your doorpost, the mitzvah of mezuzah. And these three psukim, Merumazim, Gimel, and Yonim, is hinted at the three matters: the limit of Torah study, v'kiyum mitzvahs, and the fulfillment of mitzvahs, and the avodah, that all your actions should be done for the sake of heaven, and all your ways you should know him, as the Rebbe is going to enumerate how this is hinted in these three psukim, each one of these things. When it says you should teach them to your children and you shall speak in them, that's referring to the involvement in Torah, like the Chazal say, that what is the pasuk talking about when it says Vishinantam and also Vidibartabam? It's referring to the words of Torah. So the first part of Krishma, the first thing after speaking about the new Torah mitzvahs being something new, the first thing it says, the first pasuk, it's talking about Torah study. Then the second mitzvah that it speaks about after that, Ukshartam Gomer, you shall bind them. In other words, the mitzvah of tefillin. Koyal kiyam mitzvahs. It's referring to the fulfillment of mitzvahs in general. How come? We're talking about tefillin. Where is all the mitzvahs over here? So he says, Maamar Chazal say, Hukshakal Torah Kul tefillin, that the entire Torah was compared to tefillin. And the Rebbe explains, what does it mean, Kol HaTorah? Person might interpret it to mean that the entire Torah study or the entire words of the Torah is likened to tefillin. So the Rebbe explains that v'akavon, in the parentheses, v'akavon b'chol Torah sham, when it says that the entire Torah is likened to tefillin, it means hula mitzvahs ha-Torah. It's referring to the mitzvahs of the Torah, meaning tefillin is symbolic of and it is indicative of all the mitzvahs of the Torah. You want to know what the mitzvahs of the Torah are about? This tefillin encapsulates it. It's not talking about Torah study or other things. So therefore, since all the mitzvahs of the Torah are likened to tefillin, so by the second pasuk, we are referring to the idea of mitzvahs in general. We are being taught the concept of mitzvahs. So the first pasuk, Vishinantam V'dibartam, is Torah. Second pasuk is mitzvahs. And then, Chsaftam Gomer says you shall write them on your doorpost, the mitzvah of mezuzah. She says, Yeshloimer, we could say, that this is also hinted, the avoided, that all your actions should be for the sake of heaven, and in all your ways you should know him. How come? What does the mitzvah of mezuzah have to do with that? The actions should be done on Shem Shemayim, your ways you should know him. So he says, Shegam al mezuzahs beisecha uvisharecha, even on the doorposts of your house and your gates, you kvuos haparshis v'hoyim shemoya. Over there should be set. It's probably missing a word. The parshas of Shema and V'hoyim Shemoya, the two parshas that are included in the mezuzah. And when we have those two parshas written and established and set in the doorposts of your home and your gates, so then through that, through that Hashem will protect and guard your goings and comings from now until forever. Meaning, it's not just about a specific location or a specific holy event, but also it's Hamshachas Hashmira Davayim. It's drawing down the protection of Hashem in all of the person's permitted matters. Seischa uvayecha, your goings and your comings, because that is the location of the mezuzah at the entrance and at the exits of his home and his property. So in other words, we have Hashem's involvement in our worldly activities, not just in our Torah mitzvahs. So therefore, the mitzvah of mezuzah that speaks about in Krishma is indicative of the avodah b'chol masechel shem shamayim and b'chol drachecha de'eu. So now the Rebbe connects this back to the beginning, that these things that are new connect with the following three things that we were talking about: Torah study, all the mitzvahs, and the Chol Masechel L'Shem Shamayim Chol D'Checha De'eu. Then move on 3 lines from the bottom. From this is understood Shagam Inim B'Chol Yom Yiyu B'Necha Ki Chadashim Echadashim. That also the idea that every day the Torah mitzvah should be like new or actually new. Shenilman Ma'Kosav Vayed Dvarim Goyim Hashanech Mitzav Chayot. That's derived from the pasuk that these matters will be that I'm commanding you today. Koyal Kol Gimel Ein Yom Shebehem Shel Vayed Dvarim Goyim. Refers to all the 3 matters that are in continuation to what it says, and these matters will be upon your heart, and these matters will be today, etc. Meaning, the Rebbe goes on, Shekol, top of the next page, Shekol in Yonim Elu, all of these matters, which is Limud HaTorah V'Kiyum HaMitzvahs Avodah B'Chol Masecha Chul L'Shem Shamayim Chol D'Checha De'eu, Torah study, fulfillment of mitzvahs, and the avodah of all your actions for the sake of heaven, and all your ways you should know them. Needs to be as new. So now the Rebbe goes on to bring in something back to the idea of Tziyun b'Mishpat Tefda. It's explained in the Maamar by this title of the Tzemach Tzedek. What is the intention, the pasuk, that Tziyun will be redeemed with Mishpat? What is the Tziyun? Hiloy al Ir Tziyun. It's not referring to the city of Tziyun, which is, Tziyun is another term, another name for Yerushalayim. But rather, ki imal Yisrael shenikraim Tziyun. Rather, the Tziyun that's being redeemed is referring to the Yidden, and we're soon going to bring a proof that the Yidden are called Tziyun. Kid isa b'Yerushalmi al pasuk v'asim dvarim b'fichas brought on Yerushalmi the pasuk that says, "I will place my word in your mouth. B'tzel yadai kisisicha, in the shade of my hand I will cover you. Lintoya shemai v'lisidara. It's to plant the heavens and to found the earth. The Leimer L'Tzion, and to say to Tzion, Amiato, you are my nation." So we see in this pasuk that Hashem calls his nation Am Yisrael. He calls them Tzion, and this is the Tzemach Tzedek applies this back now to the pasuk Tzion b'Mishpat Tefda is referring to the Yidden that are called Tzion. But the Yerushalmi goes on to say that calling Yidden Tzion, this is the only place in Tanakh that it explicitly says that Tzion is going on the Yidden. Chazarna kol mikra. We went through the entire Tanakh. We do not find that Yidden are called Tzion. Only in this pasuk that we just now quoted, like it says, that we say to Tzion, you are my nation. No other place does it say it so explicitly. Tzemach Tzedek applies it to ציון b'mishpat tefda, but there's no clear indication that the ציון is referring to the Yidden. It could very likely be referring to Yerushalayim. The only place that says it explicitly is in that pasuk, V'asim dvar b'ficha. And the Samach Tzedek explains something a little bit similar to what we said by V'hoyu advarim. Just like V'hoyu advarim, we said there are three things that have to be as if they are new, and that is Torah, mitzvahs, and B'chol Derech Hadei B'chol Masechel Shem Shemayim. In a similar vein, not exactly, there are three things that have to do in this pasuk that Yisrael come to be called ציון. What causes the Yidden to be called ציון? So through three different avodas. What are those three avodas? As he says, Maamar, Samach Tzedek explains through the three matters that's in this pasuk. Lefi Pirush HaYerushalmi Sham, according to the explanation of the Yerushalmi over there, V'asim dvarai b'ficha zu Torah. I will place my word in your mouth. It's referring, what's Hashem's words? Torah. Ubetzel yadai kisisicha, in the shadow, in the shade of my hand, I will cover you. Zu gemilas chasadim. It's going on doing acts of kindness. What does this have to do with gemilas chasadim? First of all, she klolos kol mitzvahs. Gemilas chasadim is considered the general thing corresponding to all the mitzvahs. Like, for example, when we say the famous expression of Chazal, Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas chasadim, so Torah is going on Torah study, Avodah is going on Avodah HaKarbonos. Presently, it's the idea of Tefillah, and Gemilas chasadim represents all the mitzvahs is called Gemilas chasadim. Also, we know always that the Rebbe brings down the Yerushalmi, says tzedakah, and the Yerushalmi is called mitzvah stam because it encapsulates and it exemplifies what all the mitzvahs are about, the elevation of the sparks. So the term Betzel Yad Kisisicha, it's going on Gemilas chasadim. What's the connection with mitzvahs and the term Betzel Yad Kisisicha? V'amitzvahs and bechinas levushim. We know that mitzvahs are considered garments in Tanya. Tanya explains how Torah is considered and likened to food and becomes food for the neshama in Gan Eden because it's internalized and becomes part of the person's intellect and mind, just like food becomes digested and part of the person's body. And mitzvahs, which are external to the person, makifim, they surround the person, they are considered garments, so they draw down an makif, and that's what can be for the neshama in Gan Eden. The garments for the neshama in Gan Eden is created through mitzvahs. Now, levushim, garments, is hinted in the word kisisicha. Kisisicha is the word covering, also related to the word kisus. Kisus is another word in Lashon Kodesh for garment, because the garment covers the person's body. So when it says Betzel Yadai Kisisicha, Kisisicha means the garments of a person, and it's considered a level of Makif. Now the Rebbe adds that there's a component of Torah which is also the level of Makif, which is also the level of Levush, and therefore also included in this pasuk. Well, according to what's explained in Tanya, when he explains about the idea how the mitzvahs are likened to garments, and from that garments become for the neshama in Gan Eden, and Torah is likened to food, and from the food that becomes the food for the neshama in Gan Eden. So then the Alter Rebbe says that why is Talmud Torah keneged kulam? Why is Torah study equal to everything? Because in Torah there's also the advantage of being makifim, also being garments as well. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya at the end of Perek Hey, Shagam hevel hadibur, the Torah, also from the breath of the speech of the Torah, nasa b'chinas oir makiv, becomes the makif light. In other words, there's two components of Torah. There's the intellectual understanding of the Torah. There's the part of the Torah that I internalize in my mind. That is like food that becomes internalized and becomes part of Dama Basar Kipsari. But then there's the actual speaking and verbalizing the words of Torah, which is done with the exhalation of breath that comes out in the person's speech. So that exhalation of breath that I'm doing in the fulfillment of the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is no different than any other mitzvah that I'm performing with my body that's external to the body. And nasa b'chinas oir makir, from that breath of the Torah becomes, from the breath of the words of the Torah becomes this encompassing and surrounding light, the light that's likened to garments, and that's why Torah is equal to all the mitzvahs, according to what he says over there in Perek Hey, because Torah has both qualities. It's both like food and like garments. So therefore, Gam HaDibur de Torah, you see, notice the speech of Torah, saying the words of Torah, that's also included in the shadow of your hand. I will cover you, meaning it becomes a garment to the person, it becomes a makif to the person, in addition to the fact that the Torah becomes internalized and becomes part of the person's intellect and being. So anyway, we find over here in this pasuk the hint for Torah in Torah as the two ideas of mitzvahs and Torah. And the third part of the pasuk says, to plant the heavens and to found the earth, elu ha-karbonos. These are referring to karbonos. Why is the planting of the heavens and founding the earth having to do with karbonos? They are karbonos miskayim chukin shemayim v'aretz. Through karbonos, so that makes the laws and rules of nature, the laws and rules of heavens and earth, continue. The Chazal derive it, says in loy berisi yom v'layla chukas eretz v'shamayim loy samti. If not for my covenant, day and night, I would not have made the laws and the rules of nature. And the Chazal derived that the covenant that it's talking about over there, loy berisi yom v'layla, is referring to the mitzvah of karbonos. The Chazal derived from it. So we know that karbonos specifically have to do with the laws and the rules of the heavens and earth. So we have in this pasuk three things: Torah, mitzvahs, and karbonos. So he says, Shahim Gimel Kavim Shaleim Ha'olam Oimed V'Kayim. The idea of Torah, mitzvahs, and karbonos, or these are the three things that the Torah stands upon and exists. As we know, that the kiyum of the world, we have the famous pillars, the three pillars the world stands, al Torah, avodah, and gimel chasadim. So the pasuk is saying three things, and then it concludes, Ulitzion Maamar ad miato, and to Tzyon he was called my nation, meaning that when you have these three things, Yisrael and Tzion, Yidden, have this new type of title of being called Tzion. That's the whole point that he's bringing out, that Yerushalmi says, Chazarna al kol mikra. We learned the entire Tanakh. We didn't find anywhere where Yidden are called Tzion except for this place. Why? Obviously, this must be something unique over here in this pasuk. What's unique in this pasuk? What's unique in this pasuk is that you have all these different things that lead to the Yidden being called Tzion, which ordinarily, in a revealed way, we'll speak about that concealed, every Yid has a level of Tzion, but in a revealed way, for Yidden to be called in the Torah Tzion, it's following these three things of Torah, Avodah, and Gimel Chasadim, the three ideas of Torah, mitzvahs, and the idea of Avodah Sakarbonis leads to a Yid being called Tzion. Perhaps in a similar vein, he doesn't say this here, is the idea of Tziyim b'mishpat tefda ושבי בצדקה. That where it says Tziyim b'mishpat tefda, that means that the why are the Yidden referred to? Why is it Samach Tzedek apply and say that Tziyim is not referring to Yerushalayim, or is not only referring to Yerushalayim, but it's referring to Yidden? Because you have the b'mishpat v'shavi b'tzedakah, you have Torah study, which the Rebbe explains in other places, Mishpat is going on, and you have tzedakah. Through the avodah of Torah and mitzvahs in a more broader sense, and the mitzvahs also include karbanos, so then the Yidden in that pasuk are also entitled to the term tzion. Perhaps also why it's not said explicitly so is because in the simple meaning of the pasuk, we could read the pasuk as follows: that tzion b'mishpat tefda ושבי הצדקה, it's not referring to our avodah. The Rebbe always teaches us tzion b'mishpat tefda ושבי הצדקה means that when we do mishpat, when we learn Torah, and we, especially halachas of the Torah, fall into mishpat, and when we give tzedakah, so then we are redeemed from golus, and therefore the Rebbe says very much so, encourages, especially during the 9 days and the 3 weeks in general, to be meisif in learning Torah, especially the halachas of the Torah, and especially the halachas of Hilchas Beis HaBchira, the halachas of learning about the Beis HaMikdash, and the same thing to add in tzedakah during the 9 days, more so to be able to bring about Tziyum Mishpat Tefda ושבי Tzedakah. And but that is the way we're learning it. If you will, the simple meaning of the pasuk is referring to how Hashem will redeem Tzion. That Hashem will redeem Tzion with mishpat, with justice. He will do so in a manner that's justified and correct and righteous and right, and also will return its captives with his mitzvah of tzedakah, with his mitzvah of doing things in a way of kindness, etc. So therefore, this is the specialness of the pasuk that Tzion b'mishpat tefda is referring to Tzion, according to the Tzemach Tzedek, that it's referring to the Yidden. That's then we have to say that b'mishpat tefda v'shaveh b'tzedakah is referring to what the Yidden do, and if b'mishpat tefda v'shaveh b'tzedakah is referring to what the Yidden do, so then that justifies their being called Tzion, just like in the other pasuk where it justifies why the Yidden are called Tzion in the pasuk Maamar Amiata. So in the next part of the Maamar, he's going to explain that it's not like something that's completely new and completely not part of what the Yidden are. But really, every Yid deep down has a level of Tzion, and that is the reason, the true reason why it's called Tzion. It has to do with the Yechidah Shebenefesh, and that's why it's called Tzion. Tzion is a mark, meaning an indication of above. So really, deep down, every Yid has Tzion. But that needs to be brought to the fore, and that being brought to the fore is, like I said before, through the Gimel Kavim Shaleim Oyel Moimed, through 3 pillars that a person stands upon.